Hello everybody, this is BioTip Anime and welcome to my video game review of Bleach, Rebirth of Souls. As a huge Bleach fan, I was so happy that a new game was coming out, and it's been a very long time since we've had a new Bleach game. Personally, I haven't played a new Bleach game since Bleach Dark Souls on Nintendo DS, so it's a great time to be a Bleach fan, and I really think it's truly a Bleach renaissance, or should I say rebirth, right now, with Thousand Year Blood War anime, the Core 3 airing last year, and hopefully Core 4 is coming out soon, maybe next year. But because it's been so long since the new games come out, I'd like to take you with me into a deep dive into what I think about this game as a huge Bleach fan, and after it's been out for almost 2 months, so it's had some time to sit and the launch hype die off, although I will say there was some major problems with the launch, especially with PC, so I will talk about that later. But yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, first let's start off with the menus, and boy, I think it looks good. This style kind of gives me a feel of a mashup between like the Persona menus, where you got the nice character stylized in the text, and even, you know, kind of mash it up with the later Bleach manga covers. And you can see here there's all the modes listed out, which it has the story mode, offline versus, missions, which is kind of like the Mortal Kombat Tower mode in my opinion, online versus, store, and extras and other stuff. Now the first mode I actually jumped into was offline versus, because I just wanted to try out all my favorite characters, which is not Ichigo, and so I knew the story mode would give me plenty of chances to play as him, so I went right into the characters, offline versus. And that leads me into talking about roster, which I think is quite decent. I think all the fan favorites are there. You've got our main cast, most of the captains, lieutenants, the enemies, the Rankars, etc. Now, the roster isn't as large as, say, your typical Naruto or Dragon Ball game. It's kind of close to when you got your first Ultimate Ninja or first Budokai game. But even compared to old Bleach games, there's not as many characters. Well, the DS one. But I think that's because they cut most of the characters who didn't really fight that much in the series. Because in the old games, you could play as characters like Orihime or Ukitake, and their movesets were kind of shoehorned in just based on the names of their techniques or their Zanpakuto name. So I think they cut a lot of characters that were just not substantial characters in terms of fighting and movesets. I do wonder if some of the games that only appear in the story mode, like Yumichika, could be added as DLC down the line. So hopefully they do that. The menu is pretty fire though. You've got the characters all posed up. You've got their costumes that you can select, and I do like a good chunk of the selection of costumes. Wish they could add a bit more, because there's a lot of models that are in the story mode that people have hacked and can put in mods, but aren't available as official costumes. And once you actually load in, the characters come in dynamically, which looks really cool, although at the end it kind of looks like they're about to kiss. The map selection is also quite nice. You've got some in all the realms, you've got some in the world of the living, you've got some in Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, so that looks great. Let's get into the fighting mechanics, which are also pretty fun. But keep in mind, I'm not that into fighting games, especially competitively. You're looking at someone who likes to just fire up Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 or Hinokami Chronicles and play a couple of offline CPU matches while having a YouTube video or something play in the background. But as a huge Bleach fan, I do love how everything is themed to Bleach. So you don't just have a health bar or stocks or a super meter. You have your Reishi, your Kanpaku, and your spiritual pressure. Now, other games like Naruto also do that. You got your chakra meter instead of a super meter, but not everything I think is themed. I think it's still just health. But here you've got that. You've got your movement abilities and reverse abilities. There's a lot of little mechanics, but the movement abilities are all named for each character depending on their actual, race. So you've got Shunpo, Sonido, and if you're a Quincy, you've got that other one that's hard to pronounce. And they're all very well implemented, and when timed right, you get those perfect dodges and such. It really gives you that anime battle feel or troop of teleporting behind you, nothing personnel kid kind of feeling. Now the main objective is to deplete their Kanpaku, which is the stocks, and you do that with a Keycon move. And the Keycon move is really every character's special cutscene move. And it can get a little repetitive, especially if they're really long. I'm looking at you, Awakened Aizen. But they are really cool for the first time. When you use it, it feels very epic, and it will really help you recreate all your favorite scenes in the anime and manga. The character movesets are also pretty distinct, most of them having their signature abilities, and you sprinkle in some Kido that the character has used before in the series or would most likely use. So like Byakuya and Aizen use Byakurai a lot, or you've got some other Kidos that the lieutenants like to use, and throughout the series there as well. The awakening concept is also really cool. It makes the battle pretty faithful to most of the battles in the series, as your character is activating Shikai, Bankai, or another ability for their awakening. Holification, for example, for the wizards. A lot of them like to stay activated too, so it is like a transformation. So you've got Ikaku's Bankai, or Shinji will stay holified. But there are some awakenings that are temporary, like Renji and Komamura. When they do their Bankai, it's like in the awakening in Naruto where they've got Susanoo's going, and it's huge, so it's only available for a limited time temporarily. Then let me briefly go into sound here, because the music is also pretty awesome, and each character gets their own when they do their awakening. You can set it in the settings, I think, but I like to keep everything default and whatever is a standard. And some honorable mentions are Soifon and Yoruichi's music when they use their Shunkos. It is fire. So overall, I think combat is very fun. Again, it can get repetitive with the Keycon moves and just how your character fights. Plus, you can cheese the computer a bit for the offline matches. But again, overall, I had fun just going through the story, the beats of the battle. It really makes it feel like you're fighting in the series. Next, let's talk about story mode. And I think this was done extremely well. It hits a lot of the major story beats, using in-game cutscenes, art scenes where the character is narrating over something, and even some mini trailers to recap between arcs and certain moments. So this is very, very cool because it adds so much variety to what you're seeing. You're not just seeing, two characters picture with some text scrolling over it. No, it's voice acted. It's got different a variety of how it displays the story. Awesome. 10 out of 10 just for the story, I feel like. And it makes me makes me do want to rewatch the anime. Also, it adds in some funny slice of lifestyle moments that would be more akin to the Shinigami Soul Reaper illustrated picture book shorts at the end of the episodes back then. And so that really really adds to the story. There's also the secret stories per character, and so it fleshes out a lot of the characters after the major moments in the game. So I played Byakuya and Yamamoto, for example. In the one with Yamamoto, he fights some of the characters, and you experience more of what he's thinking. So it's also really cool and adds to the story and playability of the game. in the story mode itself, it takes most important story battles and hypes them up to the max. The final battle, it has great music. It was awesome. There are also a little bit of extra conditions that they set for real and secret moments, and I couldn't resist doing those because it adds a little bit of a challenge. Honestly, they're not that challenging, the story mode, but that adds to it. Playing through the story mode also levels up your in-game profile, so you unlock stuff to buy in the store, to customize your online profile, banners, etc. So there is some unlocking elements to that. You also unlock Final, Getsuga Tensho, Ichigo, so there's that unlocking element to it. But it's good just to experience the story through it. Keeps you refreshed, so if you want to watch the new arc, you can do that. So speaking of other modes, you've got your offline mode, so like versus, missions, which again, the survival kind of mode where you play one character and it goes through either 3 or 5 matches. It's a nice mode if you want to test and play a character against a lot of opponents for a bit. Especially cool if you want to do like Ukiura when he gets into Segunda Etapa, because it takes so long for one match. I can rarely get into it in a normal offline match. But there you could play it for a little bit longer. Play that state a little longer. Then there's online, which I played one match, and I was able to find one match after like 2 disconnects. So it's not that great on PC. If you're thinking of buying it and playing online, go console, PS5 or whatever. I don't think you want to buy PC because the player base is dwindling there. But again, not for me. I really just play offline and story. Tutorial, that's self-explanatory. Stores where you get all the unlocks for the online profile and such, and the little I don't deal with any of the gem stuff or whatever boost they have. There are those things that you can set up to make missions and such easier or online. I don't deal with any of it, and that's pretty much it. It's kind of light on modes, but I think the story and offline are good enough to keep me entertained. Okay, let's get into some things that I didn't like about the game and some cons. The big one, what I would say, is it had a very bad launch on PC because performance was pretty bad on launch day. A lot of people, it was unplayable for them. When I bought it on launch, it crashed on me on first launch, and then I followed some Steam forum users' advice of adding DX12 to the Steam launch options, and this worked for me. I was mostly able to play it. I had one more crash after a long play session before the patches. I don't really get any crashes anymore. So I do think the patches helped. I do think Tamsoft and Bandai Namco tried to fix the game as soon as they could. I mean, on day one, they had a community post asking people to write down their specs of their computer and also what issues they were having. So with the patches now, I think the game is playable, but your mileage may vary. I did have it on my Steam Deck, and I even brought it to a friend's place, and we were able to play. So yeah, there is still some performance issues right now, though. Certain scenes would give bad frame drops. For example, when 2 characters are fighting and hit each other at the same time, there's some extra sparks or whatever. That gives me bad frame drops. The final battle in the story mode, as hype as it was, also had bad frame drops. So it's not, and I'm running this on an RTX 3080, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Another con I have is some of the subtitles and captioning aren't everywhere. So if you're playing on Japanese audio like I am, for example, in the beginning of the match, when the character says their spiel, or in some of the Keycom moves, they say some lines, there are actually no subtitles there. So it would be great if they could patch those in, if they still cared about that, I hope. But I think if performance is an issue for you, I would recommend you get this on console. PS5, I think, is where it's most consistent, and you again have a bigger population of players to play online with. I do hope DLC will revive this game a bit more, with rumored characters being from and I'm thinking it's leaked in a data mine where it was Captain Unohana. There's also some 1000-Year Blood War characters, so Yuhabaha, New Ichigo, and Ichibei would be the DLC characters. So I'm looking forward to that. Overall, I think if you're a big fan of Bleach, you're going to like this game. I love this game, and I feel like the developers really cared to make a game for fans. There's little details everywhere, like I was saying, the naming of things, but also other aspects, like if you're playing Ukiura or Haribel in Las Noches stages, you go up out of the arena when you use your awakening, because they're not allowed to use it as a high level espada. They've got all these mini things that work pretty well. Or Aizen's Kyokusui Getsu only working on certain characters. Well, most of the characters only not working on certain characters. It's good. The details are there, so I'm really happy for that they made this game, and happy for the Bleach comeback overall. So if you're a Bleach fan, I think it's a good time. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.